Students, scholars, and advocates of Native American and Chicano studies are working to add degree options at the University of New Mexico. Both departments have a long history at UNM. A Master of Arts degree in Native American Studies has been approved and applications are being reviewed. And on April 24th, the governing board voted to approve a master's and a PhD program in Chicano Studies at the university. So this week, correspondent Antonia Gonzalez sits down with academics in UNM's Native American and Chicano Studies to learn why they think these programs are important and what the future might look like for scholars in their departments.
Joining me today is Lloyd Lee with the Native American Studies Department at UNM, and also Irene Vasquez, who is with the Chicano Studies at UNM. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Lloyd, the Native American Studies Masters focuses on leadership and indigenous culture. Tell us what's unique about the program.
Well, it would be the first master's graduate degree program in the state of New Mexico that focuses on Native American studies and specifically on leadership, sustainable community building, and self-determination. There would be no other type of program in the state prior to this. So, and then also we also feel that our delivery approach is going to be in 3 different phases, which is very unique. It'll have regular face-to-face classes, but it will also include online courses and then what we call at UNM synchronous online. So this is where students can watch live feed of the class and they can access it through the internet on their laptop, as well as at the branch campuses around the state. So it's going to be very distinctive in the way that the material, the curriculum that's come about, and then also the delivery approach.
And is the online focus, is that to help people who are maybe already in seasoned careers or to help older generation students, or what's the focus of the online?
Yeah, the focus online is trying to reach out to our students that are statewide, that don't have the access to come to Albuquerque or don't have the resources, or they prefer not to come to Albuquerque, but also would include national. As far as I know, there are only maybe 1 or 2 graduate programs that focus on Native American Studies or American Indian Studies that does an online system approach. Most of them are the traditional face-to-face. I mean, there's not that many out there, but they are the traditional format. And so this was really an idea to really kind of provide access to our students statewide, but also nationally.
And both departments have a long history at UNM. And for you, Lloyd, you've really worked to try to advance these degrees in Native American Studies. Why has it been important to you?
It's the core of my being. My Navajo identity is really it's all of what I do in terms of my teaching, my scholarship, the service that I do for my communities, both on my mom and father's side, as well as the Navajo Nation overall, and then Native peoples around the country and around the world. In terms of why Native American Studies, the research, the curriculum, the lens, the paradigms that we talk about, all really are tied to the indigeneity, to the native identity of indigenous peoples here in New Mexico, around the country, and around the world, particularly in the Western Hemisphere. So, and we feel that that's such an important part of what needs to be out there in regards to the education of peoples and human beings, and the relationship that they have to themselves, to each other, to the environment, to the earth, to the universe. So it's very important in terms of that.
And Irene, just like the Native Studies Department, there's a bachelor's program at your department as well. But tell us about just the historic move that happened.
Well, during this past academic year, our department has been championing a master's and PhD proposal through the university process. And so just last Tuesday, which was April 23rd, the UNM Faculty Senate voted to unanimously approve the proposal for an MA and PhD program. And over the past almost 50 years, we've seen our program grow from a small interdisciplinary program that was really established by community in New Mexico, grow into a program that offers a bachelor's degree, and now we hope within another 12 months to be able to offer the MA and PhD program in Chicana and Chicano Studies.
And we're in the Southwest, and the state of New Mexico has a high Hispanic population. Why is it important, what do you see as an institution at UNM to be able to offer such degree programs for Chicano and Chicana Studies?
Well, UNM, of course, is an institution that has served the Native American population primarily, but it's also a Hispanic serving institution. At UNM, we have 48% of the population that's considered under the category Hispanic or Latino, which actually parallels the percentage of Hispanics and Latinos at the state. So having an MA and PhD program at the primary research university is critical because it recognizes the foundational contribution that people of Mexican and Hispanic and Latino descent have in the state. It also positions our department in a role to be able to influence the kind of research projects and research questions that are developed at UNM that currently, because we don't have those kinds of programs, we have less influence in. And there's so many issues and challenges to address among Mexican, Hispanic, and Latino populations in the state that it's critical. It's critical that the department is represented at that level and that our students have access to that program.
And Irene, what have you seen when it comes to the students, how I guess the betterment overall for students and for just the community as a whole? What have you seen?
I think one of the things, and actually I think we share this in common in terms of our programs, is that we center the well-being of our communities in the sense that we give students a place where they feel like they belong at UNM, and we also create avenues to outreach to our communities so that they see it as their university too. Oftentimes, folks in our community feel like they don't have access. They don't feel as encouraged to utilize public education. And I think that what our programs offer, both in regards to Native American and Chicano studies, is that we are that arm to the community, and we do bring people to UNM who otherwise, may not have thought about attending UNM.
And Lloyd, can you add to that about the aspect of student success and what you've seen through Native American studies?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Irene is saying, in that we see students that are coming from the reservation, from rural communities, from urban centers, who feel, because of Native American studies, because of Chicana studies being there, that there's a place that they can go to and that they feel supported, and that they're going to succeed in the college, and they're going to succeed at UNM specifically. And so I definitely see that with our students when they're coming in and taking the Native American Studies courses, when they're taking those types of courses that really help them in regards to what they want to do. And for many of our students, it's about helping their community. It's about going back to their community and providing the necessary support, providing the necessary thought, providing the necessary education and well-being for their success in terms of themselves, in terms of their families, and in terms of their communities.
And both the departments work together, collaborate. And what do you see as the future? Lloyd, I'll start with you. PhD programs for Native American Studies?
Yes, we're definitely going to do that. We'll probably begin the process in a couple of years. There's a process that you have to go through at the university level. But yes, we will see that. We also see really a vision in terms of what we like to have come about regarding Native American Studies at UNM, but also specifically in relation to the state and around the country. We have a small faculty, but our faculty is very strong in the sense of their their research, of their teaching, as well as their commitment and service to their communities and to indigenous peoples. And so that's just going to grow, and it's going to mature our department, it's going to mature the curriculum, it's going to really have a positive impact, the way we see it, in terms of the Native community here in New Mexico, as well as around the country, but also in terms of our alliances and our connections to other departments and programs of study at UNM, just like Chicano Studies, and Africano Studies and others in regards to that.
And Irene, I know that you students, advocates who are hoping that this gets finalized for the master's and PhD programs, what else would you like to see in the future?
What we're working on currently is a pathway from the high schools to the graduate programs. Right now we offer Chicana and Chicano Studies college credit courses at 3 public high schools, 3 of the largest public high schools in Albuquerque, and we plan to expand that to 6 high schools in the coming year. We're also envisioning being able to establish more community-centered initiatives, so actually taking our program into the community, working with community leaders to create conversations at a local level in neighborhoods and expand our reach in that way so that we can, in fact, eventually match. Like currently in the state, about 85% of our residents have a high school education, but only about 25% have a college bachelor's degree. And so we would like to see those numbers align, and we think the only way we're going to be able to do that is really to expand our reach directly into neighborhoods and communities. And that's where we hope to be in the next 10 years.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and best of luck to both of your programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.